And it might help if I add this to the feed. Anyways, how you guys doing, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls? It is episode number 17 of TNT, the Thursday Night Throwdown. My name is Chris Maloney, London, Ontario, Canada, of course. Coming to you live tonight on Facebook and YouTube, alongside Sean Bates of the Scumbags of Wrestling. Sean, how's your week been?
Not too bad. Still supporting in the house people, doing arts and crafts, music, whatever we can do to make the day pass by.
So how excited were you yesterday when the Ford government announced that you could do shopping again at retail stores such as Lowe's, Home Depot, as well as apparently curbside starting on Monday with regards to places like, I think, Old Navy and stuff like that. Any excitement at all, or do you care?
I'm okay either way. It's not really affecting me. There's not much I need right now anyway, so I'm good.
So, folks, if you're watching live, feel free to use a comment on Facebook or on YouTube. We will show them on air here, answer any kind of questions that you guys have. As well as this week's episode, we have the one and only Cody Diener with regards to an interview that we did, what was it, a couple days ago? Wednesday, I believe.
Tuesday.
Oh, yeah, this is a Thursday Night Throwdown, so I guess it would have been Tuesday. But it was a great interview. You'll see that in the second part of the show. Some sad news to announce just to begin with here. So, as you know, we are huge Canadian wrestling fans, independent wrestling fans, Ontario independent wrestling fans. Post Wrestling had posted on May the 6th, former Ontario wrestler Sexy Baby Jamie Jackson passes away. Just read you just the first little bit here. Tuesday night, word came out that Jamie Asher, who wrestled for years as Sexy Baby Jamie Jackson, had died with a cause of death unknown. Jackson was a staple in the Ontario independent wrestling scene in the late 90s and early 2000s before he transitioned away from the industry. Born in Winnipeg, Manitoba, and WWE referee Daryl Sharma shared the following on Jackson. Received word last night that one of the guys that broke me into the business passed away. We are forever indebted to those who gave us a way to pursue our dreams. Rest in peace, Sexy Baby Jamie Jackson, 44 years old. He passed away. Daryl Sharma used to wrestle as Hornet on the Ontario independent wrestling scene. Somebody who was close to him as well. Now, there was a group, and the group consisted of, I guess, Custom Made Man, sending Sean L'Artiste was part of that faction, but kind of not. And then they had the agent, which was Autobahn, Peter Cornell, who ended up passing away last year. So unfortunate news about Sexy Baby Jamie Jackson passing away. I'll tell you this, as a wrestling fan, I got to see him at Medway Arena as part of the HWF. Got to see that group as a faction. Got to know about Custom Made Man back then as well. Still remember him to this day at Midway Arena, watching him. Sean, your thoughts on Jamie Jackson passing away 44 years old, and any memories that you might have from back in the HWF days?
Yeah, I was at that same show as well at Midway Arena. And that was when independent wrestling was hit and miss, I guess, in this area, as opposed to the Toronto area. But it was really good to take in some of the indie shows at that time. And to know that somebody our own age, because we turn 44 this month and in the start of next month, to see somebody our own age pass away of unknown circumstances kind of makes you think about where you're at.
Yeah, 44, way too young to be passing away. Custom Made Man on Twitter actually had posted twice. He goes, "Goodbye, Jamie. Enjoy the ride. Tell Peter." So Autobahn, I said hello. And then he followed up. He posted a picture of the two of them together. So Jamie Jackson as well as Autobahn says, "You two have a lot of catching up to do. I'll never forget the memories and the friendship that we had together." Definitely a different Ontario independent wrestling back then. There was a lot of red tape involved with the, I know, insurance and Kaz Hayashi and stuff like that. But you'll hear Cody's interview with regards to the now and the then of the Ontario independent wrestling scene. But again, 44 years old, sad news, passed away way too young, way too early. We go from that into a little bit of, I guess, sad news as well. Owen Hart would have turned 55 years old today, born May 7, 1965. Shares the same birthday, who today turns 36, Kevin Owens. Sean, your thoughts on the legacy of Owen Hart? I know we'll get into it in a couple of weeks because of the memorial of him passing away, and then obviously the Dark Side of the Ring that's coming up as well. But Owen Hart, another one of those guys that passed away too young. It's sad when you think about the wrestling business as a whole and all the guys that you think never hit 50. But as opposed to going down, I guess the dark side with regards to Owen Hart and the death, What's one of your favorite memories about the guy?
Well, just the fact that he was probably, in all honesty, and not kissing ass or anything, one of my favorite members of the Hart family. I'm not a huge fan of Bret Hart. I respect what he did and stuff like that. I got his autograph the 2 nights before the screw job, but really, Owen was my favorite of the Harts. It was interesting that his passing happened when I was with Jonesy and we were watching the pay-per-view over the Edge, and it was like 2 days after my birthday, my 23rd birthday. So we were watching that as part of basically my birthday weekend, and just to know that all that happened, it's heartbreaking. And to know that, unfortunately, due to circumstances, family-wise and legally, we won't see him probably in the WWE Hall of Fame. But, fans have their memories. WWE put even out a DVD called Heart of Gold. So there's plenty of Owen Hart memorabilia that you can look back on and at least honor Owen anytime. Plus, then with the fact that Kevin Owens' birthday is also today, he took his last name from Owen Hart. He even named his son after Owen Hart. So it's pretty cool that they're on the same birthday.
Yeah, and the Hall of Fame will happen. And, it's just a matter of time. It might be another 10 years, but it will happen. There's so much support behind it. British Bulldog finally went in, and there was petitions online and stuff like that. And with Owen, it's a little bit different, but I think one of the plus sides of everything is the fact is with the Dark Side of the Ring, that episode that's coming up, Martha Hart is actually part of it. So I think it's for the first time, maybe publicly, that she might be speaking about this since he actually has passed away.
Well, she wrote her book as well, talking about it. I think this is one of the first appearances of Oj. And people would remember Oj being carried in Owen's arms after the Calgary Stampede event and waving his flag.
Yeah, waving the Canadian flag there. Some other news about Kevin Owens, sidelined for indefinite amount of time. So Kevin Owens sidelined with ankle injury. Basically, it happened at WrestleMania 36, jumping off the WrestleMania sign at that. Now, he wanted to go one step further, didn't he? When it was in Tampa, he wanted to go and jump off that ship, from what I was told.
Yeah, I heard that rumor too. But, getting injured, it's unfortunate. At the same time, with the restrictions of travel, he still lives in Montreal. So trying to get down to Florida to be a part of Raw is definitely not a priority. And with the way WWE has allowed people to basically come and go if they please, he's choosing to heal up his injury, but also spend time with his family before having to go back on the road.
All right, so Jey Uso also injured, out 6 to 9 months at this point, so we'll have to wait and see what happens with Jimmy Uso. What are your thoughts on New Japan canceling some more events while AEW last night was live? I mean, do you think Japan has it right, or do you think it's just a matter of a step in the right direction for us here in North America to see what they can kind of get away with as far as the numbers go? Because even Tony Khan came out and said that AEW is taking a hit of millions right now as far as the COVID-19 virus goes.
Yeah, it can go either way. Like, there's some companies, as we saw even with the Ontario indie scene, who have shut totally down. There's others. Ring of Honor has totally shut down. So I think it's a matter of just perspective and where you want to be with things. So, having Japan wanting to be safe and maybe wait till the crowd can come back, so be it. If they can afford to do it, great. There's people like Tony Khan and Vince McMahon who have TV deals they want to continue honoring, and they're still able to put on shows. So whichever way, there's not one right way or wrong way, because nobody's ever done this before.
Yeah, so Chad Peterson says, what do you guys think about this Sunday Money in the Bank? That we will address that in probably about 10 minutes or so. Just get through a little bit of the news as well as the show results from last night. So New Japan, like I said, they canceled 2 of their tours, essentially. Well, one tour, one show. Best of the Super Juniors tour is not happening this year, as well as Wrestle Dynasty at WrestleMania. Madison Square Garden is being shipped over to 2021. So we'll have to wait and see about that. If you're interested in podcasting, I tell you this, Chris Van Vliet as well as Chris Jericho are all over the place right now. And they would have jumped over the fact that the WWE released a couple guys. So I know the Revolt discussed their final days of WWE on Talk is Jericho. Matt Cardona, is it Cardona? Cardona. I'm going to say Cardona. Formerly Zack Ryder is on Chris Van Vliet, as well as Heath Slater is upcoming for Chris Van Vliet. I think that drops tomorrow. Have you seen any of the episodes at all there, Sean, as far as the podcasts go, or are you looking forward to any of them?
I definitely am looking to catch up on a couple of them. I get time to listen to podcasts while walking my dog for about an hour each day and getting from work back home, and that's definitely on the list. As people know, I am a fan of Conrad Thompson and his podcast crew, so I definitely listen to Bruce, JR, and Eric first, plus while keeping up with post-wrestling. So there's so much to listen to and so little time in a way.
Yeah, Sean, I don't know if you still are, but used to be the number one fan of Bruce Pritchard.
Hey,
what was it? A couple of years ago, they came out with Starcast. Sean invited a couple people over to his house, and I was like, I'm not going over to watch friggin' Bruce Pritchard for 24 hours. But anyways, I think I maybe listened to one or two of his episodes. He's not that bad. He's obviously he's behind the scenes WWE and everything else, but he's got a good head on his shoulders, as far as his podcasting goes. Have you heard about the Impact Wrestling tournament happening coming up to crown a number one contender for Tessa Blanchard?
Yeah, they're pretty much doing what WWE's doing with the Cruiserweight Championship tournament.
Yeah, some interesting matchups. So the one I want to touch base on is Sami Callihan and Michael Elgin first round. The other side of the bracket, though, you've got Madman Fulton and Hernandez. It's possible to see what was it, OVW? No. Hold on. I'm getting confused. OVE. Long day. OVE go at it in the finals to see who faces Tessa. Now, if you remember, I think it might have been on this show, I said if Tessa were to win that championship, there's only one guy out there that could essentially take that championship back from her, and that would be Sami Callihan. So that's my pick right there as far as the tournament itself goes. Are you surprised that they ditched the whole champion versus champion thing with Moose, and they basically said, he's off on his own little world as far as the TNA championship goes? Or do you think, would you as a fan would have liked to see Moose versus Tessa?
No. I am okay with this tournament format. I am one of those guys who have been not liking how Impact keeps on bringing back anything related to TNA. Those letters, unfortunately, due to poor management and poor presentation, bad TV deals, whichever you want to call it, and put blame on, have put a stench on that whole product. And you'd think they take a couple steps forward and start putting out decent product and try to get their feet under them. Anthem getting them on a Access TV and using Twitch. And next thing you know, they're pulling out the TNA letters. They're pulling out the old guys and doing a reunion show like a one night stand. They're pulling now the title out and putting it on Moose. Like, take 2 steps forward and 3 back. Where's Impact going to start getting traction and getting rid of that stench?
Okay, as I'm taking a sip of water here.
Right.
I have been an Impact Wrestling fan, TNA Wrestling fan, since pretty much the weekly pay-per-view days. I used to go online, look for it, watch it weekly, report on one of my old websites. It's just something about Impact Wrestling I've never fallen out of love with. Now, don't get me wrong, it's a love-hate relationship. There's times I've watched it and be like, what the hell? But there's other times that I'm like, man, this should be something more than it actually is, because the fact is they've got all the potential and all the talent in the world. They've gotten a lot better as far as, taking over the, what used to say the WWE leftovers. And, they are starting to establish their own stars. But again, problem is they lose a guy like Brian Cage. Tessa Blanchard, when her contract's up, and I do believe it's this summer, it's going to be interesting, because the fact is there's going to be Impact Wrestling's going to want to retain her, but the fact is it's going to be AEW WWE war, and I don't know. It'll be interesting. SmackDown falls below 2 million viewers in overnight ratings last week. WWE Raw ratings reach a new all-time record low this week. So we've talked about this before. I want to get your thoughts on this. Is there a chance at rebound when everything is back to normal, or do you think they've lost some fans for good?
It's going to be a tough rebound because it's easier to attract people to something than bring them back to something. And unfortunately, that was seen after WCW went under. At one point, when the Monday Night Wars were hot, you had maybe 9 million people watching wrestling. Now, apparently, you're getting 2 million if you're lucky watching any one episode at a time, because there's not even a war going on to say that. And if you combine the numbers for AEW and NXT, that's still under 2 million. So whether Wednesday, Monday, or Friday, 2 million people approximately are watching. Where'd the other 7 go? And so how do you drag them back? Now, a lot of things are missing because the fans aren't there. They're not on tour. But also you got commentary from different review people saying, I can't watch this. I can't wrap my head around it, instead of letting yourself free to just watch the action and go from there. And people do take into consideration what critics are saying, and they are probably tuning out. Where do you get them back? Where are they going to anyways? Because there is no other sports on. Are they all just watching news? Or, are they watching Netflix documentaries like The Last Dance and Tiger King?
Could be walking their dog, listening to Bruce Pritchard on podcast.
That too. But I'm watching still.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see what happens, especially with all the Roman Reigns rumors taking place right now as well. The good thing I'm looking forward to, besides Money in the Bank this Sunday, WWE announced a schedule for Undertaker The Last Ride, Chapter 1 this coming Sunday, May the 10th, immediately following Money in the Bank at approximately 10 p.m. Are you excited about the series? I think it's a 5-part series about The Undertaker. It'd be interesting to see. And the reason I have hope for this is because the fact when he was on the Stone Cold podcast, live on the network, well, I guess it wasn't live, but taped, he very interesting as far as what he had to say about it. But do you think maybe this is the beginning of the end for the Taker, leading up to maybe WrestleMania for next year?
I do believe it is a possibility, even though the Boneyard match did somewhat breathe new life into what is possible to do at his age, and use a lot of smoke and mirrors. I was listening to a review of Dynamite on my way home with Post Wrestling, and they kind of brought up a good thing with what was going on with the ratings, as we were just talking about, that they sometimes were retaining audience by showing old matches. What business are they serving really by putting this Undertaker series on the network? They could have taken that time and spread it out over Raw for maybe the last hour, as they're suggesting, or something, just to retain some people. And as I mentioned just a moment ago, people are watching more documentaries like Tiger King and The Last Dance. So if you're putting that on network TV or any cable TV, you're going to have people watching instead of trying to wrap their mind around an empty arena.
So how come you can figure this shit out, but they can't?
I don't know. But as I said, I heard that from Post Wrestling, and I definitely agree with them.
100% agree with that. I tell you this. So there's stuff on TV that I have no idea about. And one of the things I'm talking about is Cocaine and Cowboy Boots, the Herb Abrams story. I might have known that UWF existed, one brief point of time back in the day. But the fact is, I had no bloody idea this guy was so insane. You watched the documentary, and have you seen it? Have you watched it?
Yeah, I saw it. I actually thought UWF was Mid-South with, what's his name? Cowboy Bill Watts. I didn't realize there was another UWF in 1991. I did post their beach brawl last night on our Facebook page. So if you want to catch up on that, or the blackjack one, I'm going to post later on. But yeah, Herb Abrams, knew nothing about him, but the man is messed up.
Yeah, jumping out He jumped out a freaking window naked because he was running from guys coming after him. I mean, that's insane. And then all of a sudden, his addiction to coke, his inability, to promote wrestling. The Andre the Giant thing was something. I mean, I didn't know about that, and all of a sudden, Vince McMahon's kind of like, "What the hell? You're coming back to us?" You know what I mean? But I had no idea about that. But that's on Crave. Check that out. The next 2 episodes, I think the final 2 episodes, I'm looking forward to. So, Last Ride of the Road Warriors coming up on May the 12th. And then the final days of Owen Hart, May 19th, right 4 days before his anniversary of his death there. Looking forward to the Road Warriors as well as Owen Hart.
Definitely Owen. Road Warriors. Hopefully there's something behind the scenes that hardcore fans don't know, because, like Hawk rode really hard and had the painkillers and alcohol and drugs, but he cleaned his act up, and sort of like Eddie Guerrero, too little too late, and that's why he passed away. So what else are they going to tell us? Hopefully there's something compelling to have tune in, but definitely Owen in 2 weeks.
Yeah, I think with the guys at Hawk, I think it was something to do with he was painting and then wasn't feeling too well, went to go take a nap on a Sunday and then ended up passing away. Sad, but...
Like Eddie Guerrero brushing his teeth.
Yeah, same sort of thing. So we will segue into this. So next episode of the Fantasy Warfare Tournament, which I guess officially is episode 1, exclusive to TNT on Patreon, is 80s Wrestling Tag Teams. So if you're looking to see our picks for 80s Wrestling Tag Teams, including the Road Warriors, Demolition, Powers of Pain, all those big teams are in there, as well as 13 others. Sign up to Patreon. So TNT on Patreon. I'll post the link just momentarily here. But minimum subscription, $5 for the month. And I guess we can do the announcement now. So we have decided that we honestly do not need the money as far as Patreon goes. It's something for us to provide exclusive content, with the channel and Patreon. And we're still trying to figure Patreon out because we're both new to it. But it's our way of saying, hey, this is exclusive content to you. Pay $5 for the month. And basically, we've decided, and indefinite, I think, at this point, but anything that Cody Deaner has to do, we were gonna donate that Patreon money to his charity of choice. So for whatever charity he's doing that month, anything we make off of Patreon, not only do you get exclusive access to what we're doing, but all the money is going to go to Cody Deaner and his charity. So, wanted to make that announcement there. I think, Sean, I'm gonna get your thoughts about just Deaner and his charities. Still going on 2-3 years later. I'm just gonna find the link just to be able to post so people can see it.
Yeah, in our case. Actually, my timeline for Facebook, it said 2 years ago today was when we started our combination with Cody with the Scumbags Wrestling and raffling off a T-shirt in support of the Rumble Camp for the Deaf. And so, that was 2 years ago. And now to know that 2 years later, we're committing again to raising funds to help Cody help others is really cool. Check out that link that Chris just put up. There's multiple different levels that you can participate in for just a shout out, or you can be part of the decision making for the content, at least of what we are going to have. Like, you can help steer it or even be a part of it, especially with the Throwdown tournaments. Or the Fantasy Warfare Tournament, should I say. And, we always need a 5th person to uneven the voting to see who advances and wins. So you sign up, you can be a part of that panel.
Yeah, so a lot of topics going on. Greatest 80s tag teams coming up next. Greatest managers, greatest valets, worst gimmicks ever. Worst theme music. Anything that we can think of, we'll do a 16 bracket poll or 16 team poll or whatever the case may be. Anyways, before I ramble on too much, patreon.com/TN Throwdown or TN Throwdown CA. We'll take you to that link. $3 will get you a shout out every single episode that we do of TNT as well as Fantasy Warfare. And $5, like I said, will give you exclusive content to not only the Fantasy Warfare aspect of things, but anything that I've done personally in the past, any of the interviews I've done, which include Daryl Sharma, Hornet, formerly of Ontario Independent Wrestling. I've done an interview with Alexia Nicole. I've done an interview with Steve Carino. Anything else I can find, I'll throw up there as well, just exclusively. So we've got about probably, let's say, a good 10-12 minutes before we put the Cody Deaner interview on. I was going to go over the Cruiserweight Championship tournament, how it's racking up, but we'll save that for another time. What we're going to do right now is going to Money in the Bank predictions, as well as the matches, what we think of the show overall as well. So I'll start just by going over the matches here, and then we'll get Sean's picks and my picks for as far as who we're going to think is going to win this. So first match, Fatal 4-Way match, SmackDown Tag Team Championship, The New Day, The Miz, and John Morrison, Forgotten Sons, as well as Lucha House Party. Sean, who's your pick and why?
I'm going to go with Miz and Morrison taking the titles back because they lost them under circumstances where they were not a team, and they can continue boasting the hey, hey, ho, ho, and back as a team. If they don't, then this could spell the eventual breakup of them. But yeah, I don't see Forgotten Sons yet, and definitely not Lucha House Party.
So I'm going to go opposite of Sean. I'm going to go Forgotten Sons. The reason for it is because the fact is they've got nothing that's really sticking right now. So why not put something out there that seems fresh, seems new, that people don't recognize from NXT, and try to get the Forgotten Sons some kind of push, some kind of hype right away. They've done it with Gail Kim in the past. They've done it with regards to Paige in the past, putting the championships on them like almost right away. So Forgotten Sons are my pick for this one. Sean, you're officially going. You said Miz and Morrison?
Miz and Morrison.
All right, next match, bathroom break right here. SmackDown Women's Championship match, Bayley versus Tamina. Who's your pick?
They got to keep the belt on Bayley because eventually they will pull the trigger and have Bayley and Sasha Banks go against each other. Maybe we're going to finally get that by SummerSlam, wherever that looks like. But yeah, it's interesting that Bayley is now going to be 1 year holding that title because she won the Money in the Bank last year and cashed in same night against Charlotte. And so now both the Raw and SmackDown titles have been held over a year.
She's honestly held it for that long?
Yeah.
Damn. So she went from transitional champion to actually legit. That's
and she's the first Grand Slam champion.
No, yeah, well, I knew about that. So I'm gonna go Bayley as well because I can't see them putting the title on Tamina. She is not fresh. She's been around a while. So next match, Universal Championship match, Braun Strowman, Bray Wyatt. This is a toss-up. I think I'll start with this one. So you've got Braun Strowman and the way that he beat up on Goldberg at WrestleMania versus Bray Wyatt, who the Fiend character. But more importantly is the history between these two guys. I'm going to say Braun Strowman loses this and Bray Wyatt takes back the championship. Sean?
Yeah, I think, unfortunately, to a certain extent, Braun is an accidental champion. Goldberg's contract was up. He was only supposed to be there until WrestleMania to drop the belt to Roman. They didn't want Roman against Bray initially. That's why they did the switch that happened there. But had they been able to see into a crystal ball and know that Roman wasn't going to be around and that Goldberg was going to be gone, they would have found a way of keeping that title on Bray Wyatt longer. So I see Bray getting it back somehow.
Yeah, I see Bray winning it back simply for the sake that basically we're going to see Roman Reigns eventually reappear, and then basically there'll be a feud between those two guys, and Roman will take the championship, probably maybe SummerSlam if everything goes and it's cleared. Next match of the night, Drew McIntyre, Seth Rollins, new champ, still champ.
Still champ.
Yeah, I can't take away from that either. So I got to go Drew McIntyre as well. Reason for it is because of the fact is he's one of the main guys on the WWE right now. I mean, and it was his time. Unfortunately, he didn't win it in front of like 70,000 people, but he's still doing the best he can. I'm starting to get into his gimmick a little bit more. He's starting to seem more confident as far as being that main guy goes, and he's gone through a tough haul. Fortunately, we'll never see Heath Slater win the championship and that trifecta, so to speak. But like I said, Drew McIntyre is doing a good thing as champ. Women's Money in the Bank.
Thing is also with Drew McIntyre, they're booking him a lot different than any other babyface champion. A lot of times the babyfaces are cowering or not really taken seriously, and instead he is taking it to his competition. Like, when was the last time you saw a contract signing that was not the heel making the jump on the babyface to start the traditional melee that happens after every contract signing? Instead, it was Drew who ended up grabbing Seth by the head, slammed him into the table, and then tossed out everything and had the advantage until Murphy came out. But usually it's babyface getting jumped, not the heel.
Yeah, I tell you this, it's going to be interesting when fans are allowed to be back into the arenas again to see, because, I mean, me and you can talk back and forth and we go in the Scumbags of Wrestling group and everything else and talk amongst ourselves and this and that about what's on TV. But the fact is we have no idea unless we listen to every single podcast in the entire world how people are feeling about this. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how much hate they have for Seth Rollins and whether or not they really, truly do support Drew McIntyre. But the time is not this Sunday, Drew McIntyre to retain. Women's Money in the Bank ladder match: Shayna Baszler, Nia Jax, Asuka, Diana Brooke, Lacey Evans, and Carmella. My pick for this one is Shayna Baszler. I see her being monster heel with that briefcase. Somebody's always going to be worried when she's going to cash in, and there's nobody else really in this match right now that I can see winning it. So Shayna Baszler is my pick. Sean?
I want to go with Shayna Baszler as well. The only other one that they've built up in a way for anything and would almost a little bit make sense is Nia Jax. This is her first big match since coming back from double knee surgery. But if she were to get the briefcase, they can play off the fact that she made Becky Lynch the man by popping her in the face and was responsible for taking off. I still want Shayna Baszler to win, mind you, but I can see a reasoning for Nia Jax to win. The briefcase has done better being on a heel rather than a babyface ever. So it only makes sense. So I do agree with you.
Think about it. Go ahead. I was just going to say, think about it this way. Think about Edge with that briefcase for the very first time, you know? And when he cashed in, how excited fans were and just how much you could see him as champion at that point. So
exactly. The only time that I really see that a babyface did well with having the briefcase was Rob Van Dam, because he didn't do the sneaky thing. He actually pinpointed what day he was going to cash in. But for it to be the sneaky heel tactic thing, they have to have it basically on a heel to make it make sense. I think CM Punk or somebody had it as a babyface and did the sneak attack, and it was just like, didn't really make sense.
Yeah, before RVD ends up getting busted with Sabu. Everybody knows that story. So anyways, last match of the night, main event, we've got the men's Money in the Bank ladder match taking place. Daniel Bryan, Aleister Black, Rey Mysterio, King Corbin, Otis, and AJ Styles. Styles replacing, obviously, Apollo storyline, I'm thinking. But this match here, my gut says AJ. That's who, if I were to take a pick, it'd be AJ. But with the amount of hate and the transition of the character from Baron Corbin to King Corbin, how much would friggin' wrestling fans hate to see Baron Corbin win? But the only thing that's saving me from saying Baron Corbin is the fact is the time that we're in right now. Because I tell you this, that 1.6 million viewers that you're getting on Raw and that basically 1.9, 1.8 million viewers you're getting on SmackDown, Baron Corbin gets that briefcase and it's like, nah, they're going down to probably NXT AEW territory. So I'm going to say AJ Styles on this one.
I'm going to go with AJ Styles as well because it makes sense, him against Drew McIntyre in the future. However, you sort of missed out on something. The men's and women's ladder match or Money in the Bank is happening at the same time. All 12, as I had been saying for weeks on end, when we got announced, are being brought in and then dispersed all at the same time to brawl, because there's no sense in sending one group through and then the second group having sloppy seconds of a destroyed building of what's going on. Now there's talk about somebody actually falling off the building, which I guess Vince McMahon even did himself, living up to his I won't do anything, have you guys do anything I wouldn't do sort of concept. And they even teased it with AJ Styles and Aleister Black and Rey Mysterio talking about it this past Monday. So I'm betting somebody's going off the roof, Hans Gruber style. And there could be even some people crawling through air vents like Bruce Willis did, trying to get up to the next level or something. I can almost see old school Scooby-Doo thing where they're chasing each other through one door and coming out another door and all the way up a hallway as part of a chase sequence. Like they're going to do total movie style like they did for Cena and Bray with the Funhouse, and definitely AJ and Taker for Boneyard. So they're going to get quite creative. All 12 are going to go at the same time. And yeah, it only makes sense also for AJ Styles to get that one. He did the job to Undertaker, even though he doesn't want to say it was an actual loss because there was no rules in a Boneyard match. But, you know, you put over Undertaker like you did in that fashion. Here's your reward. And unfortunately, we got rid of your buddies. So here's the briefcase. You're going to be our top heel on Raw.
So AJ's your pick?
Yes.
Okay. And I was going to get to that point as far as the them happening at corporate office, but you beat me to it. So there we go. Anyways, Money in the Bank takes place this coming Sunday, 7 o'clock on the WWE Network with kickoff beginning at 6, WWE.com, WWE Network, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and Twitch. Should be interesting. As Sean said, it should be cinematic as well. So very cool. Last little bit of pro news, and I mean last little bit of pro news. We didn't have time to go AEW or NXT this week, but I just want to say best part about AEW for me was seeing Sammy Guevara get hit with a golf cart. He played it like a superstar. Best part about NXT from the looks of it, I still haven't seen it yet, but Karrion Kross and Scarlett debuted, as well as Rhea Ripley returned. AEW rating 732,000 versus NXT 663. Lots of championship matches and hype for upcoming pay-per-views taking place. Sean, just your quick thoughts. AEW, NXT, 6 months from now, who's going to be in the lead?
Well, it all depends on if WWE were to smarten up and stop putting NXT on record the next day. It's not appointment TV. AEW is appointment TV because when are you going to see it again? So if all things were equal, I could see possibly NXT taking it over, but things are not equal. And AEW is going to get the fans, regardless of it being here in Canada or not. Because, hey, in Canada, we can't see NXT until it's on the network on Thursday or in a cut-down version on Friday on Sportsnet. If you're in the States, you do have a choice. And I think still, if I was in the States, I'd be picking AEW because it's live.
So nice little segue as well. Something that you can see every Tuesday night on the Fight Network here in Canada is Impact Wrestling. The coolest thing about that is the little vignettes that Cody Deaner has done once and is going to do again. It looks like on a weekly basis. I mean, I laughed. It's only about a 2.5 minute clip, but when I watched it on YouTube, I was like, "Holy crap!" It was funny though. Last little bit that we'll do, as we always do at the end of every episode. Scumbags of Wrestling, Facebook.com/groups/Scumbags of Wrestling. Sean, what's going on there? Are you starting to get excited? Things opening up because this potentially could mean you back at the Tyson Dukes Wrestling Factory.
Yeah, well, episode number 104 is coming up this weekend. I'm going to launch it before Money in the Bank so I can preview that whole card. It'd be wonderful if things were to be able to open up and they go back to the factory. But of course, things have to be cleared really well. And Ontario is doing a better job than the state of Florida and other places, allowing it to like free for all almost to come back in. So as long as it's a safe environment, then yeah, I'm down with it. But until then, the production line is on hold. But you can always go back and watch the past episodes and see how guys like the Revolt and Jim Strider and a couple others, even Ethan Dukes, the birth of him, basically learning the ropes. Go back and check out those episodes, and when things do get cleared, we'll bring back also the Ontario Indie Road Trip episodes. Every day we celebrate the birthdays as part of Superstar of the Day, and then whatever news or things variously pop up, we'll talk about it on the Scumbags Wrestling page. And yeah, we're working with Chris Jones to try and figure out the concept of the game show and get that cleaned up and presented for everybody to take part in, along with us doing this show and Fantasy Warfare.
Yeah, that's right. So again, Facebook.com/groups/scumbags of wrestling. And then, as Sean was just mentioned there, Fantasy Warfare Tournament, hashtag FWR on TNT is the official hashtag that goes along with it. Patreon.com/TN Throwdown, TN Throwdown CA. Sometimes I add an extra T and it confuses people. But if you're watching, no problem at all. If you're listening, yes, just go to tnthrowdown.ca and everything's there as well. But first official episode is going to come up. I think we're going to record tomorrow, so it should be up on the weekend. And like I said, the $5 donation that you make gives you that exclusive content, as well as all the money right now will go to Cody Diener's charity of choice. So definitely a good cause. In saying that, go ahead.
Well, if anybody's looking to find out what that show is about, last week, yourself, Steven, and I sat down and ran down the top 16 tag teams in the Ontario indie scene, just to see how that concept of our show works. Check out that show, and then you'll know what to expect when we do things like, as Chris said, the tag teams of the 80s, worst gimmicks, factions, finishers, managers. We'll have fun.
Yeah. All right. So as I'm loading up this video, why don't you just share your thoughts just on, without getting anything away, but just on the interview overall with this guy?
Yeah, it was a really good interview with Cody that you're going to see in just a couple minutes, or in just a moment. We go from the back history of how he got started, and then get to where we are right now with his charity givings. And so you can find out what he's giving to right now, and how you're signing up to the Patreon account that we have set up can go and help that charity as well. So there's a lot of insight on the beginnings of his career and where he sits right now. So hope you guys enjoy, and be sure to sign up for Patreon.
Yeah, guys, the interview was definitely enjoyable. Like I said, we went about 35 minutes with Cody. A lot of knowledge, a lot of experience. Definitely a busy guy, but he did share his time with us. I definitely appreciate it. Thank you very much, Cody, for doing the interview with us. So I am going to sign off. Sean is going to sign off. The video will air in its entirety, and once that is done, you will see the closing clip play, and then that is it for episode 17. So thanks for everybody for joining us tonight. Enjoy the interview, and we will see everybody again soon. Thanks a lot, Sean.
Anytime. We'll do this tomorrow with the tournament.
Yeah, very good. All right. Good night, guys. It's been 20 years since wrestling fans witnessed his debut. To be completely honest, he's one of the most entertaining wrestlers on the Ontario indie scene now for the same 20 years. Wrestling Kurt Angle to be a part of the current Impact Wrestling roster fails in comparison to what he's accomplished outside of the ring. Motivational speaker, proud father and husband, his slogan of "Just Give Her 24/7" inspires fans all around the world. Live and in quarantine right now, possibly in his trailer park, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Cody Diener. Cody, how you doing tonight?
Hey, what's up, guys? That's a pretty sweet intro. I gotta give you props for that.
Yeah, just
you're plugging all my stuff for me right away, and putting me over like that. I gotta say, I appreciate it.
We just want to say thank you very much for doing the interview. First and foremost, how did you get started in the wrestling business? What stands out as far as your early career goes, training, kind of your big break, so to speak?
Well, I mean, I wanted to be a wrestler since I was 5. Like, I was a Hulkamaniac. I'm assuming if you guys were fans around the same time I was a fan, I mean, are you guys Hulkamaniacs when you were growing up?
No.
Sean wasn't.
I was not.
Okay, well, maybe I should just leave now. This might be the shortest interview of all time.
I have to apologize. I turned the channel whenever he was on the 18, but Macho Man got me. And then I was into Hogan because of the Mega Powers.
So if you look at my backdrop here, I've got Cody Diener merch behind me. Yeah. Very top shelf, the Smash Wrestling hat. I've got King Kong Bunny on the one side, Hulk Hogan on the other side, LJN figures. So yes, I was a Hulkamaniac.
Awesome. So if you came to become a Hulk Hogan fan through Macho Man, then that's okay. I think we're gonna be okay with that. That's all good. But since I was 5, I was a Hulkamaniac. So that was my dream to be a wrestler since that age. But when I became a teenager and the Attitude Era started and everything, and this whole dream that I had since I was 5 to be a wrestler stayed with me, I had no idea that independent wrestling was a thing. I didn't know that there was that word. I just thought there was the WWF mainly, and I knew a little bit about WCW, when I was young, and then more about it during the Attitude Era. But I didn't know that indie wrestling was a thing until I actually went to a show, a Hardcore Wrestling Federation show, an HWF show in London, Ontario, and started to realize that, yeah. So I started to realize that independent wrestling was a thing. And I saw all these amazing wrestlers that I'd never seen on TV. And one of the guys that really stood out to me was Danger Boy Derek Wilde. And I started to chat with him at a show, and then he let me know that he actually had a wrestling school that was going to be opening up soon, and I should stay in touch. So I did, and I joined a wrestling school. I had to drive 3 hours to Niagara Falls, 3 hours there and 3 hours back, 2 or 3 times a week for an entire year to learn how to do it properly. But I had an amazing trainer in Nature Boy Derek Wilde, and that's how I got started in wrestling, out of the kindness of an independent wrestler.
Yeah, it's interesting. The first time I ever got to see you, I think mid-2000s, Tilsonburg. You mentioned Derek Wilde. It was you and Derek Wilde in the main. I think was the main event. He had Jennifer Blake as his ringside valet that night.
Yeah.
But the reason I bring it up is because the fact is you didn't look the same back then as you do now.
Nope. No, I look a little bit different. I've gone through a lot of different reincarnations. A lot of people don't recognize me when they only know me from 20 years ago when I started, which I know you mentioned that right off the hop. And every time I hear that, it feels weird to me when you're like, oh, they saw him debut 20 years ago. I was like, man, it's been 20 years since I started wrestling. And every time I say that or talk to someone about it, just makes me feel old. But yeah, so I looked a little bit different when I first started wrestling. I was completely clean shaven. I did have the long hair, but I had no facial hair, wore little pink Speedo tights, and I was wrestling as Cody Steele. And I did that for about 4 or 5 years and got some tryouts with the WWE, and that just never got a contract. So I decided to switch things up and do a 180, and got inspired actually by a lot of the people that I grew up around, because I grew up in a small town called Port Bruce, Ontario. And in Port Bruce, Ontario, there's 4 trailer parks. So I kind of got inspired by some movies that I was watching and the people I grew up hanging around. And I grew up in a little, rural area in the middle of nowhere, and thought, you know what, maybe I should just go back to my roots and actually make my upbringing a wrestling character and just kind of crank it to 10. And that's how I came up with Cody Diener. I took the drastic measure of cutting my luscious long locks into a mullet, and I grew a handlebar mustache, and I completely dedicated myself to that role. And because I did, it actually got me my first television contract with TNA as soon as I did that. So it was worth it. But I had to walk around with the mullet for about 5 years of my life. And I actually remember I was actually at a bar once. We were out after a show in TNA, and so all of a sudden my hair gets tugged, and I turn around, and a complete stranger came up to me and pulled my hair, turned to their friends and said, "It is real." And they thought that I was wearing a mullet wig, and I was like, "Nope, that ain't a wig. That's 100% legit." So I have gone through a lot of different looks. Right now, I'm very comfortable with my look. I don't have to, tie my hair back and try to hide it when I'm out in public. I don't have to hide a mullet. I got the man beard and the long hair, and loving life right now.
So when you think about Ontario indie wrestling, there's 2 guys that stand out to me anyways, Tyson Dukes and yourself. You've been, wrestling now for 20 years. What do you find the major differences are between 20 years ago and now, as far as the independent scene in Canada, as well as Ontario goes?
Oh, that's a good question. I actually never been asked that. I've been asked, like, what are the differences between my first run with Impact and my current run, but nothing really about the Ontario indie scene. Well, for one, there's a lot more wrestling now. That's the one difference. When I was starting, like within my first month of wrestling, I had discovered about 2 or 3 promotions. And for myself and guys like Tyson Dukes, we started to wrestle on all the indies in Ontario, but there was maybe 5, maybe 5. If I think back, there's about 5 solid ones that kind of ran regularly. Where now hell, you could literally only wrestle in Ontario as an independent wrestler and wrestle Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and just wrestle in Ontario Indies. That's how many promotions are out there. So that's a really good thing. It's a lot easier for a local independent wrestler that's just starting to get a lot of work because there's so much, just so much out there. I'll tell you the one thing that hasn't changed, and that's the quality of the talent. I think Ontario independent wrestling, I'm proud to say I'm an Ontario independent wrestler and happy to be on here talking about Ontario independent wrestling because we don't get enough credit, and this scene doesn't get enough recognition that I think it deserves. We're kind of just this little area up in the north where, Philly. I mean, when I was growing up, like if you weren't an indie wrestler and wrestling in Philly, then the wrestling world didn't know about you, right? Because that's where all the magazines and all the wrestling was focused on, was the Northeast and Philly, New York area. So I ended up breaking into there a little bit, which was good and got me noticed. But that's one thing that's never changed about Ontario independent wrestling is the quality of talent. And you mentioned Tyson Dukes. I could probably talk for the next 20 minutes easy with you guys this whole interview time, telling you how awesome Tyson Dukes is. And you guys have had him on your show, right?
Many times. And I had it at the factory with the students.
Sweet. So there you go. So you know the deal. Tyson, he's not only an amazing wrestler, he's an amazing man. And he's a guy that really took me under his wing when I first started. And he was the first wrestler that gave me an aha moment where I thought I knew what wrestling was. And then I sat on the learning tree of Tyson Dukes and realized I don't know anything. And he started to teach me some things. So I can't say enough of good things about Tyson Dukes.
Yeah, it's always awesome that he's able to and willing to share like he is. And you guys became one of the basically the Ontario Four Horsemen, along with Sean Spears. So it's kind of cool that you guys had that sort of legacy even before Tyson with the Pillars. You guys have your own Four Horsemen.
Yeah, and for me, it's like, it sounds like I'm blowing smoke, but I'm not. Like when I say it's an honor, to be, in the same class or mentioned in the same group as a guy who's like you said, if you want to call us Four Horsemen of Ontario, which is awesome. I love that. You got me, you got Tyson Dukes, you got Derek Wild, my trainer, who taught me so much. Wouldn't even be talking to you guys if it wasn't for him. And then Sean Spears, and we all know what he's doing now with AEW. So, man, to just be mentioned in the same breath as those three guys and to be able to call them my friend, I've been pretty blessed in the wrestling business, man, to have amazing friends like that. It's pretty cool.
So you talk about amazing. Everything you do inside the ring, it seems just honestly legit. You seem to know what you're doing. It's like no thought has to take place. It's like second nature to you. Outside of the ring, what you're doing is absolutely amazing as far as the Giver for Charity goes, as well as your motivational speaking. Two-part question. How did the Giver for Charity start? And then the motivational speaking, how did that get started as well?
Cool. So we'll start with the charity stuff. And that started when I got asked to, they're tied together in a way, because I got asked to be a special guest at something called the St. Thomas Sports Spectacular. I'm not sure if you guys are aware of this, but it's it's a sports banquet put on in St. Thomas every year. It's an amazing banquet, and they raise money for the Special Olympics, and they have Special Olympians there doing speeches, and they have a just amazing group of people, and they bring in stars. So like that year they brought in Ricky Steamboat, Roberto Alomar, and all these athletes, and then they asked me to come. And I'm just like I just consider myself this local kid who's, rubbing shoulders with Ricky Steamboat and Roberto Alomar. I'm like, why am I here? But the MVP Special Olympian that year requested I sit at his table. So I sat with him, and as they were doing this banquet, they were doing a raffle for different paintings that this artist had made. So there's this beautiful cartoon caricature of Roberto Alomar. There's this beautiful cartoon caricature of Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. And then right beside it is a cartoon character of me. And I'm like, whoa, like, what is that doing there? Like, which of these things is not like the other in my mind? Like, you got Roberto Alomar, you got Ricky Steamboat, and you got Cody Diener. So I find the artist, and he's like, yeah, man, like, I saw you were a guest. I found a picture that I made a cartoon of. If you like it, that's great. And I actually have these prints, and he handed me 5 copies of this thing and said, if you want to give these away to some kids at wrestling shows or for charity or something, go right ahead. And I got home and I started thinking of that, and I thought, I can do better than just give 5 prints away. I'm like, I'm at my merchandise table anyways. I'm selling 8x10s and t-shirts and hats and stuff. Why don't I print these, and then I'll sell them. I'll just eat the cost of the print. I'll sell them, and then I can really make some money for charity. And I'll start with the Special Olympics that I had just done some work with. So I asked Art if that was okay. He said that's cool. So I picked the Special Olympics. We raised $300 within 1 month, and then I was like, okay, let's see what else we can do. And I started reaching out to charities that all actually had a connection to my fans. So I've just been very lucky to meet some really cool, amazing people. A lot of kids that follow me and look up to me that actually have connections to different charities, like the Rumball Camp for the Deaf is connected to a young fan of mine named Christopher. There's an amazing place called the Lansdowne Children's Center. It's for kids with special needs that need help, that have autism, and I have an autistic fan named Reagan. So I got hooked up with that amazing place through my friend Reagan that I met at the merchandise table. So it just kind of snowballed, man. And I didn't really realize how big it was going to get. And after a couple of years of, just selling some 8x10s, made some t-shirts. So to date, with all the different charities across Canada I've raised money for, we've raised money almost, I think the tally right now is over $14,000 for different charities all across Canada. So
very cool.
I know it's a long-winded question or long-winded answer to your question, which I told you I was going to do. But I'm really passionate about my charity work, man. So I could talk about that for a long time too. But that's kind of how it got started. It just kind of happened. It fell in my lap. I saw this opportunity and this need, so I ran with it.
And then, go ahead, Sean.
Sorry, yeah, I got to meet Chris and his dad a couple times at indie shows, especially at Smash with the London Music Hall, and really good family, and great that you were able to connect with them with the Rumball Camp, and then you had that charity with the Exeter Seniors Home as well. So yes, we were able to help out with that, and it's a shame that she passed away, but still was able to get that wheelchair for the facility, or that was the bike, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was crazy, man. So I actually, we'll use this as a transition to get into my speaking stuff, because I know you're going to ask me about that, but there's actually a connection here, because when I speak, I try to tell like stories of things in my life that have inspired me or affected me in a really special way, to try to inspire and motivate people. So one of the people that I tell them about is the person you're talking about, which is Isabel. So I won't tell you the whole story here, but basically, I met this 88-year-old lady at a wrestling show, went to her birthday party at a nursing home, decided to raise some money for a wheelchair bicycle. So I partnered with her to raise this money. And a week before the fundraiser was done, she died. And I actually spent the day before she died, I spent with her beside her deathbed, holding her hand. And her family asked me to speak at her funeral. And I ended up delivering the eulogy for this lady's funeral, and also helping her raise money for this wheelchair bicycle, kind of in honor of her and in her memory. So, I mean, when I was a 5-year-old Hulkamaniac, just wanting to be like Hulk Hogan, I tell you right now, I never could have imagined that, I'd be, speaking at one of my wrestling fans' funerals, man. Very, very special moment. Amazing family that I met through that. And I've got to meet all these amazing people and have all these amazing experiences, all because of wrestling. So it's been a wild ride. And how I got it's also started to snowball too, and been a whole other wild ride with meeting some other amazing people with my speaking. So that's again something that fell in my lap, very much like the charity stuff. I got asked to speak at my old high school. They said, "Can you come and do a speech for the grade 10 boys and tell them what it means to be a man?" It's like, yeah, I think I could talk about what it means to be a man. Sure. So I show up and do this. I actually showed up and they said it was going to be half an hour. I'm like, cool. So they get there and go, "Hey, do you think you can talk for an hour?" I was like, yeah, I think I got this. I can talk for an hour. So I end up talking for an hour, which ends up being about the length that most schools want you to talk for a keynote presentation. You talk for an hour. So I did my first hour keynote, speech kind of right there on the spot. They asked me to come back again. Another school heard about it, asked me to come. And then all of a sudden I realized, I think I have a second career in my hands here. Like, this is going really well and I really enjoy it. It was a hell of a lot of fun and also pretty cool to be able to inspire, all these kids at the same time while I get to tell them about my love of wrestling and try to motivate them. So that's what happened, man. I decided I'm gonna try to make a business out of this. I'm gonna hustle in the same way that I started hustling with independent wrestling. And now I have a whole other business on my hands. I'm traveling coast to coast all across Canada, going into schools and conferences and speaking. I'm actually going to be speaking. Well, right now we can't go into schools, obviously, with what's going on, but I'm going to be doing a digital leadership conference tomorrow, and I'm going to be speaking right now in the same spot I'm sitting right now to 5,000 kids all over the world, sitting in my office. So, man, again, nothing I expected for myself when I became a professional wrestler, and nothing I expected when I was 5 years old and wanted to be like Hulk Hogan. But I mean, here I am, man. It's pretty cool.
So to take you outside the ring, back inside the ring. What is the experience with Cousin Jake, the Deaners, and Impact Wrestling like currently right now? Because, and I'm a huge wrestling fan. Pro wrestling, Canadian independent wrestling. Impact Wrestling hasn't had the greatest last 10 years, so to speak. But right now, they have got the potential to blow it out of the water. What's it like, in Impact Wrestling personally for you right now? And like I said, the experience with Cousin Jake and the Deaners.
Well, currently right now, this second, it's really hard because he's in the States and I'm in Canada, and we can't be a tag team right now because of what's going on with this pandemic and the borders being closed. But I'll tell you, I'll share a quick story with you, which will lead into why Impact Wrestling is such a good place to be right now. Is I can't be. They actually had tapings 2 weeks ago in the States, and myself, All Legal, Ethan Page, Josh Alexander, 2 other amazing Canadian wrestlers. We were in Canada, and we couldn't be at the television tapings. Impact still found a way for us to have featured spots in the television show. So right now, as we speak, this week they aired a vignette that I actually filmed with my sister-in-law who owns a production company. We filmed some vignettes of me sitting in front of my trailer in quarantine, and we created a short film called Cody in Quarantine. And Impact Wrestling is taking snippets of this short film to put it on the show for the next few weeks, and then they're going to release the whole short film on their YouTube channel. So that right there will tell you how amazing of a company is, that not only are they looking for ways to keep you on the television show in an innovative way and paying you for it, but also, wanting to think outside the box and make sure, hey, let's make sure that everybody on our roster is taken care of. Let's think of some cool ways to still create content, and let's just take care of our talent. So, I mean, that right there just shows you how awesome Impact Wrestling is behind the scenes, and in front of the scenes, and in front of the camera. Yeah, man, Cousin Jake is an amazing partner. I've had nothing but a blast with him being his tag team partner, and it's really given me a chance, being his partner, to show the world what I have to offer in terms of in the ring. I appreciate your compliments that you gave me earlier, putting over, the way I wrestle. A lot of people in Ontario have seen me in main event matches and know that I can go in the ropes. but a lot of people worldwide only remember me as, the bumbling, silly, mulleted redneck from TNA in 2009 and 2010. Now, that was fun. That was a blast to do. However, I was asked to portray a character that was a wrestling fan and didn't know how to wrestle. So when I actually got in the ring to wrestle, I had to pretend that I didn't know how to wrestle. So if people watch those matches, or back in 2009 when people said, "Oh man, Cody Deaner sucks," well, that was the point. I was supposed to suck. That was the story, right? So now I have no handcuffs. They're giving me creative freedom to create my own vignettes that they're going to air on the show. They've given me and Jake complete creative freedom with our characters, given us freedom in the ring to give her as much as we want to give her. So I cannot say enough good things about Impact Wrestling this time around. It's been awesome.
Yeah, I end up everything. So yeah, hopefully they don't tow your trailer. And I did see Ethan Page and Josh Alexander at Don Kozlov Arena.
Yeah, like such innovative, cool stuff. And again, not every wrestling company is going to do that, right? It's like, okay, you guys, you're stuck over there, so we'll find something for you to do after this whole thing is over, which we don't know when this is going to be over, right? But Impact Wrestling they're being proactive, and they're letting the North do their thing. They're letting me do my thing and be creative. So they've been awesome. I just want to give a quick shout out to Hannah McKilson and Willows and Windmills Productions. They're the ones that put together the whole Cody and Quarantine stuff with me in the trailer and all the stuff you're talking about that aired on Impact this week and will be airing more next week. Yeah, man, that's all from Willows and Windmills Productions. So shout out to them.
Very good. Time for some just very quick answers as well as some name association.
Cool.
Okay. Thoughts on being part of Virtual Basement's upcoming video game?
Oh, sweet. Yeah, that kind of fell in my lap too. They reached out to me. I saw that a lot of guys were signing with Virtual Basement. I was a huge video game wrestling fan. Like when I was a kid, I didn't play a lot of video games, but the video games I did play were all wrestling games. So yeah, they actually reached out to me after I started, looking at some of their stuff on social media and, liked a few of the tweets that they sent out. They dropped me a DM and were like, "Hey man, let's get you on this game." So they sent me the contract, which was, all legit and really good one, and signed the dotted line. And now I'm going to be in a video game, man. They're doing, 3D pictures and scans to get the whole 3D thing of you. And yeah, man, I'm going to be in a video game. So how freaking cool is that?
Definitely looking forward to it. All right, Tiger King or The Last Dance?
What's that?
If you had to pick one, Tiger King or The Last Dance?
Oh, Last Dance for sure. And only reason I say that is I actually haven't seen Tiger King. I might be one of the last people on earth that hasn't seen it. But I only have so much time to sit in front of a TV. I'm a busy guy. So when I do sit in front of the TV, I'm going to sit and watch something with Mrs. Diener. And we're both athletes growing up, both played basketball. So we both decided we're going to watch Last Dance. So been watching that, and it is unbelievable. What's your opinion? I want to know what you guys think. Are you guys watching both?
Sean, I know you've seen Tiger King. I don't know if you've seen Last Dance, though.
I haven't seen Last Dance yet. I've heard some reviews about it with John and Wei from Post Wrestling. So I am actually looking forward to that because I did see basketball at that time, also with the Pistons. So what I'm hearing is good. I did binge watch Tiger King with my wife. So it's definitely something a Cody Deaner would appreciate with all the craziness of what goes on there.
Well, yeah, I mean, I had a lot of people message me when it started to air and kind of blow up, like, man, like this guy stole your gimmick, right? Because I was, and I have watched it, looked at pictures of this guy. I was like, yep, that's pretty much how when I became Cody Deaner in the first place. That's pretty much the look I was going for. But I actually listened to the Joe Exotic podcast that they had. That the whole show is based on a podcast that they did. months ago, maybe even years ago now, and I listened to that podcast, and it was unbelievable. So I know the whole story from listening to the podcast. I just haven't seen the video version of it yet, which I'll get around to eventually. But when I was a kid, I don't know who any of the modern basketball players are, much like I don't know who a lot of the modern wrestlers are. You ask me any wrestler from like the 80s, I'll tell you who they are. You ask me, who any of the main players of the Chicago Bulls or the Bad Boys or the Celtics are from, 92, I'm going to be able to tell you, but I can't tell you who any of these new guys are. So that's my jam, man. That was when I was heavily into sports and watching basketball. It was that time frame. So The Last Dance is awesome.
What's your favorite LJN figure that you own or you've ever seen?
Ooh. So this is kind of random. I just want everybody to know that we did not plan this, but I'll show you my top 3. They're right here. And the only reason I have these is when I do my speeches, I talk about my 3 favorite wrestlers growing up as a kid, and I show them these. These are my LJN figures. This is my Hogan. This is my Jake. And this is my Steamboat. And I got these when I was 5, and I still have them. My mom got these for me over 30 years ago, and I still have them to this day. And I bring them with me to every single school that I go and speak at. So these are my guys. I would probably say this is my favorite right here. And these guys, this guy, I've taken care of Hogan a little bit more than I've taken care of Jake. Jake and Steamboat are a little more beaten up. Hogan is pristine, but that's because he never does the job. He's always just dropping leg drops and body slamming, bro. So he's in pretty good shape. These guys are a little bit more beat up. So these are my guys right here.
All right, last question for me before some name association. How do you grow a beard and groom it properly?
Well, both are pretty easy answers. You just let it go. In life, you got to just give her. And it's the same with your beard. You just let it grow and you just give her. So how do you grow it? You just let it go. And then how do you groom it? You just let it go. It just happens. I don't even know what beard grooming is, honestly, because I've never done it before in my life. Now, how does it look? You can kind of tell, is it looking okay today? Yes. And the way you get a nice looking beard is you have a wife. And your wife grooms it for you, because I have never taken scissors or a razor or anything to this face. Finally, my wife just gets fed up with it and says, come here. And then she cuts it and she trims it and we're good to go.
Great advice from Cody Dina right there. All right, so name and association for you. First name on the list, Cody Steele.
Oh, Pretty Boy.
Next name on the list, Derek Wild.
Ooh, Mentor and Friend.
Next name, Kurt Angle.
Ooh, Badass.
All right, next we got Tyson Dukes.
Wise. He's very, very wise man, and I think you guys know this if you talk to him. He has more wrestling wisdom. He's forgotten more wrestling wisdom than I'll probably ever remember and ever know myself. I'm just gonna say wise, and he's gonna hear that and hear this, and he's gonna associate that with meaning old, and that's fine too. Well, let's add that to it. Let's say wise and old for Tyson Dukes.
All right, so we kind of go the opposite end of the spectrum. Jake something.
Ooh, grizzled. When I was trying to find a tag team partner, I needed to find someone just as grizzled as me, and I found the exact right person in Jake something, because not only is he grizzled, he's also 10 years younger than me. So I can ride his coattails off in the sunset. As I get old and broken down, I can just make him do all the work.
All right, next name we got on the list is the immortal Hulk Hogan.
Oh, hero. Always will be.
Next name, ODB.
Oh, Wrestling fans know what ODB stands for, but to me, in my heart, it's One Darling Beauty. She will always be my One Darling Beauty. Amazing woman. And what she's like on TV, she's like that in real life, folks. She's crazy in a really good way.
All right, Sean Spears.
Oh, $1 million. That's what I think about when I think he should be making $1 million. He can make anyone $1 million because he is that smooth and that good. The first time I saw him in a wrestling ring and I saw him throw a punch at somebody, he was only like months into the business at the time. I saw him, I go, that guy's gonna be a millionaire. He's that good. And I've known it since day one.
All right, second last name, Scott D'Amore.
Ooh, jerk. And if you guys talk to him, you can tell him that too.
All right, last name on the list, Cody Diener.
Ooh. Let's take the words I've already said: badass, wise, but yeah, old, and throw them all into one. And like maybe that describes me. I don't feel old, but when I start talking about being around for 20 years, it makes me think that I am. But I'm feeling good, man. I got another 20 years in me, so we'll end it with that. Cody Diener, 20 more years to go.
All right, Sean, any follow-up questions before we do some social media plugging?
No, we got through pretty much everything. It's awesome. Great always meeting up with you and chatting. So, yeah, let's plug away.
All right, so you can see down bottom there Cody Diener's website, social media, as well as make sure that if you've got extra money kicking around, go to prowrestlingtees.com, search Cody Diener, hit up some merch from there. Cody, what's the best way to get in touch with you? As not just your character, but as far as anything you do, as far as the charity and the motivational speaking stuff goes.
Yeah, so I have a very public email. Which is at codydiener.com. You can find it. It's just book Cody at codydiener.com, and that'll go straight to me. And so anyone that's interested and wants to know more about my motivational speaking and maybe booking me for an event, whether it's speaking or wrestling, promoters watching this, you get a hold of me through my email there. And it's just book Cody at codydiener.com. And I got all the information is on there about my charity stuff as well. So that's the best way to get a hold of me is my email, and I'll try to get in touch with people as quick as I can. And then just like I'll stream it all across the bottom. I don't even need to say it. You got all my social media right there, right at the bottom, which is sweet. So I got Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and I'm like to be as interactive as possible with my fans when I have time. So definitely check me out on there too.
All right, it's been an absolute pleasure and honor. I know you're a busy guy. Thank you for taking the time to talk with us tonight. Can't wait to see more of the skits on Impact Wrestling coming up. And like I said, it's been an honor, and good luck and all the best in the future there.
Yeah, man, I appreciate being on here. Now I gotta ask you, how many times has Tyson Dukes been on this show? Can you count?
Tyson's been on TNT Thursday Night Throwdown just once, but Sean has had the pleasure of having him, be part of multiple episodes.
Multiple episodes on the Scumbags Wrestling Podcast.
Okay, so
and we did our Scumbags interview at Harvey's.
Yes, we did, which is pretty sweet. We had some burgers and it was awesome. So I want Tyson Dukes to see this, and I want Tyson Dukes to know that I'm going to one-up him, and I'm going to come back on this show so that I can say that I've been on TNT Throwdown. I've been on Thursday Night Throwdown twice, and Tyson Dukes has only been on it once. So I look forward to doing this again with you guys. Not only just because you guys are cool, but also so I can say I wound up Tyson Dukes.
Sounds good. We'll have to make sure that happens.
Yes, sounds good for sure.
All right,
guys.
I
did quickly think of one other thing. Who are you doing the give for charity for right now? Give a shout out.
Yeah, thanks for asking. So we're actually taping this right now with on a very special day. It's Giving Tuesday. So I just sent out something on my social media everyone can go check out, because I was doing it for the Rumball Camp for the Deaf to raise money to send more kids to the deaf camp this summer, but they've had to cancel their camping for the whole summer. But what they are in need of right now is essential services to the people that they serve in the deaf community, and they supply a lot of essential services to so many people within the deaf community throughout southwestern Ontario. So all the money they're bringing in right now through that campaign is going towards getting people within the deaf community the essential services that they need.
All right, very good. And once again, CodyJr.com. Again, Cody, thank you very much for being part of the show, and look forward to having you on again soon.
Yeah, man, let's do it. Thanks, guys.
Have a great night.
You too.